Anyway, Nellie, thank you for coming in. Hopefully other people will come in. If they can't, they always can catch the recording. And like anything else, Del, you know that you can reach me anytime by phone, anytime, 7 days a week. And I want to commend you for doing a very good job, by the way. So what this is about is kind of calming people's nerves relative to writing. It's a new form of writing that some people just are not used to, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Why is this course different for a lot of students? Is because you really own the whole course. I don't, I can guide, mentor, encourage, reduce stress, offer revisions, help to edit, make some adjustments, throw some exemplars. But this is a course that, unlike most courses people have, you're the one generating the investigative questions, the research questions. And those are not easy to formulate because we know when we write that question, it has to lead us to a very specific conclusion at some point so it doesn't meander and grow out of control. So the questions to be asked, it's not easy. Writing research-focused questions is very, very hard to do, and it takes practice. In a lot of courses, you just don't have the time to practice. We call them revisions. And that sometimes, really, if you think about it, it's not fair. But it's a trade-off because these are only 8-week terms. I've taught on ground for many years after after I retired. Most of those terms were 16 weeks. So the pressure wasn't really on until you got closer to the end. But it's very difficult to learn how to write for research, write those questions of inquiry about a particular problem. And then the other part of that is, well, what are you going to write? I mean, you make the choice as to what you're going to teach, present, position yourself for, argue for, right? And that's not easy to do because you have to work largely independently, in a very short amount of time. Not easy to do. And that's where I come in. My job is to try to keep the proverbial, say, gorilla from getting out of control and eating your whole week alive by, something, content or topic that can be overwhelming, difficult to research. I think the first mod I mentioned, you want to have a topic that's called, researchable. That's not going to be out of the ordinary and drive you out of your mind. So this is why this course is very different. A lot of people, it's kind of baptism by fire when they come in. They go, wait a minute, I've got to ask the questions. Wait a minute, I got to find out that I have to follow my passion. Most other courses, it's stand delivery. You've got content, you regurgitate it back in a quiz, you regurgitate it back in an essay or a journal or a paper or whatever. But this is different. This is where you take charge, right? Writing less is also something that a lot of people don't understand. Less in research is more, and that's hard to do, to write less. We've been led to believe it's been habit forming for us to say, I got to fill 10 pages, 15 pages, 20. A lot of times you have rubrics or requirements to say it has to be X amount of words, X amount of pages. That's not necessarily true when you're writing for research. You write to be specific and to the point and to be ultimately very, very, I've got a cold, very clear. So clarity and conciseness go hand in hand, right? Writing that focuses directly on a point and doesn't meander, doesn't throw in slang, doesn't repeat ideas just to fill the page. It's very, very focused. It's actually simplified writing, but it takes practice to do that. So you're maximizing meaning with minimum wordiness. You want to use as few words as possible to get your point across, right? Because remember, research is designed to be read by a wide audience. People who have little to no idea about what you're trying to tell them, teach them, or argue for. That is not easy, and that's why I offer, individual strategies that often contain a lot of revision opportunities, to write to practice. Write like you see. In other words, when you get into the library and you're reading those research articles, as you can see, they're very efficient. They're almost, militaristic in a way, right? Very focused, very organized, straight to the point, offering lots of citations and or references, because everything you find, the content you pull out of the libraries, etc., has to be referred to. It has to be given credit, and that's why we have to cite. It's in our world in criminal justice, it's akin to offering evidence of proof, evidence of fact. Now, revising for clarity of meaning often makes prose more concise, what you're writing, and vice versa. Okay, and that's critical. That's not hard. That's hard to do, and I understand that. That's why, again, I give people a chance to write and write again. Favor active voice over passive voice. This way it also cuts down some of the confusion. See, because what I look for, as an instructor, as a reader of research, I look for you know, clear, specific sentences, all right, that make sense immediately, all right, that aren't, let's just say, awkward in scope or in form. So if you look at this one here, like which sentence is more concise? It was decided by the director to expand the program, or the director decided to expand the program. Easier to write active because now you're showing that the director is acting on something. The director decided. Now it was decided. See where the it was decided can, that would leave a reader say, it, who's it? What's it? No, just the director. The snark, which sentence is clearest? The snark was lassoed successfully. You have to say by whom? Okay, well, you can add as well. The snark was lassoed successfully by the animal control officer, and that puts, the objective before. I mean, that puts the what's being acted on before the actor. So number 3 is the best, isn't it? The animal control officer successfully lassoed the snark, and see how efficient and clear that is. Okay, and that again, it takes practice. You have to, and you'll see it when you read for research. You'll see how the actual sentences are constructed in this fashion. It's a much more effective way of writing. Ease up on the word spills, right? Pulling back and trying. Sometimes here's the thing, what makes a good writer is a great reader, right? Or a good reader. What makes a great writer is a great reader, one who sustains reading. In other words, reads entire chapters, reads entire books. Okay, the mind, the brain will pick up on words you may not be familiar with, and they will incorporate that into the quote letterbox. And this is literally truthful brain neuroscience is a letterbox, and the brain saves those words in the long-term memory for access by the short-term or working memory. So the more you read, the more you enhance your vocabulary. And it doesn't mean you're wordy, it just means you have the right words that can explain an idea very succinctly and effectively. So eliminate unnecessary words, all right? Writers sometimes feel the urge, right, to add emphasis to their prose by using extra words. I've got to write more. That's what makes it look better. It makes more sense, and it really doesn't. It actually has the reverse effect. Consider the following, right? It is absolutely vital that, well, what does vital mean? Can something be only sort of vital? The strategy is quite unique. Well, what does unique mean? Okay, do you see where I'm going with this? And for everyone listening to this, okay, something to incorporate while you're writing, what to think about. The cat is kind of pregnant. Well, it's either the cat is pregnant or not. Okay, and to be very clear about the words that you use and how they, what activity, what action, and what intention, what meaning they have. You want to be very deliberate. And I know a lot of people are interviewing people. What does that look like, in an in-text citation right here? So if you're saying, according to John Smith, and then you write J. Smith personification. If you would like to include a personal interview as part of your APA reference list, then include the interviewee, the date of the interview, and the type of the interview. Okay, that's critical, and that is really very important. Again, that's also giving credit to where credit's due, but it's not a classic, easily accessible reference. A lot of interviews are actually not recorded and they're gone forever, so you have to put it that way. So make sure that anyone listening that you do this, your in-text site like this, and format your reference for interviews as you see right here. Slang, all right? Now, here's the thing. I usually completely understand what somebody's trying to tell me in their research paper. We're trying to explain what the meaning is. And I get slang. I mean, we all use it, street terms, colloquial, whatever you want to call it. But the problem is you can't use them. They're really against the law in research because they have so many different meanings, or they have no meaning at all to some people. So those use of words are not considered standard English, and it should never be used ever, ever, ever in an academic or professional writing. And unfortunately, they come from fads or simple laziness, which is too bad, right? And I say it's not so much laziness. What it is, the cognitive load for everyone gets blown up pretty early during the day. There's so much information flying at you. But in this case here, you have to be very mindful of that you can't use slang in research writing. All right, and people may just not understand it. And the key effort behind your writing is to help people understand what you're trying to say. what you're trying to sell, what you're trying to convince, what kind of position. That is it. I just wanted to make sure that I get this across to let you know the revisions are still always on the table, individualized strategy as well, as long as everyone stays in contact with me. Write to revise and revise to write. That helps. Nellie, do you have any questions? I know you're doing very well so far, and I'm here to help if I can.
Don't have any questions, but thank you.
I didn't think you did because you know what? You really, as they say up here,
Thank you. No, I just realized I forgot to cite the person that I spoke with. So that's actually a great reminder. Thank you.
no, don't worry about that. You know, we can clean up on our things as we go. We still have time. Semester's, terms are not over yet. So if you have any questions like that, you want to revise, you say, I need to clean this up, you know that. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you. You make me
I appreciate it.
All right, you go enjoy your night. Stay in contact and let me know whatever you need, okay?
I will. Thank you so much. Good night.